Hey guys, it's Kate. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a highly requested video, which is of how I got a 1500 plus on my SAT and how you can as well. I'm going to be talking about how I studied, like my background, what books I used, and just kind of everything. I've been studying for the SAT for 2.5 years now. You're probably going to close out of this video because you're like, I only have a month to study, so I'm not going to be able to do it. But don't worry, you'll be okay. You don't need 2.5 years to study. Like, honestly, I think spacing it out over 2 years just means that you don't have to like cram as hard, and you don't need to like study for like 8 hours like every single day. But if you only have like a month left, then if you can study like 3 hours every day, I would suggest it because it does help. And if you're watching this and you're one of those people that commented on my reaction video about how I was Asian and that it was not fair, and that's the only reason why I'm good at SAT, that actually like makes no sense because your race does not determine how you're gonna do on the SAT. If anything, I can say that maybe my parents pushed me to work a bit harder, but my race definitely didn't have to do with my natural born intelligence, because I am not those people that were born naturally brilliant. I'm like that one kid at school that we all know that doesn't study at all but manages to get like a perfect on all their tests. I think this video is proof that I studied really hard for the SAT. Like, literally on vacation, I would carry this on my carry-on suitcase, and it's pretty heavy, okay? And I would do this on the airplane and every day during my trips, okay? So that's the kind of dedication I put into it to get where I am. I studied every single Saturday morning up till my December SAT for 4 months. So it was like 3 to 4 hours every Saturday. And then on Sundays, I would digest, as my mom calls it. Basically, you have to figure out what you got wrong and why you did and get better next time. It's definitely a lot of commitment, but that's how I did it, and it paid off, definitely. The reason why I started SAT so soon was mostly because of my parents. I have immigrant parents from China, and to them studying is like the key to life and all success, and they couldn't have moved here and provided like such a great life for me without them having to work really hard in school and getting jobs here and stuff like that. So I do understand where they're coming from. So they've always pushed me to try really hard in academics as well. I know a lot of people still have to study for the SAT during like the summer after junior year before senior year because they didn't get the score they wanted, but instead I can focus on like college apps and things like that. So I feel like it is a good use of my time since sophomore year is really not busy, so I'm glad that I studied during sophomore year. That being said, if you only have like a month to study and you're watching this, like, you'll be okay. You just need to cram a little bit harder and really focus in on it because you don't have the luxury of just like spanning things out because you don't have a lot of time. Also, I just wanted to say that like the SAT is not a measure of your intelligence, because I know that some people take the scores a little bit too much to heart, and honestly, like, I know that SAT like doesn't define who you are, and it's just a measure for colleges to see, like, it's more of how much time you put into the SAT rather than like how smart you are, you know, because like I know some brilliant people that just suck at test taking. So let's just start with a timeline. The first time I ever like took the SAT or had contact with the SAT was during summer school. This was the summer after freshman year before sophomore year. So my parents enrolled me in the SAT prep class at my school. We met for 2 hours every day for 4 weeks. In the class, we would go over strategies. They gave me my first SAT practice book. A week before the class started, we took a pre-test, which was basically a practice SAT exam, and then they would just grade it and see where you are. I scored a 1310 on that. Taking the pretest, I definitely thought that reading and writing was so much easier than math because I was just not used to this type of SAT math. SAT math is kind of like a genre of itself. It's just something you need to learn how to do, and it's actually not hard. Like, you don't need really complex stuff. I would literally get like half wrong in the math. And now today I got an 800, so you can do it. But once you figure out how to do it, the math will seem pretty easy to you because they really have like very similarly worded questions on all the tests, but they just change the numbers around and stuff like that. But if you are trying to get an 800 on something, I would definitely try to aim for the math because it's less subjective and there is only one answer. I had issues with how they taught us reading in the class because they said that for the reading section you should skim over all the passages and figure out which one are like the history, the science ones, and like the dual passage, because we all have our strengths and weaknesses. Like personally, I'm pretty good at the science ones, but I'm so bad at the old-timey history ones. The teacher would say that we should look through each passage and sort out which ones were the easiest, and we should do the easiest ones first and then the hardest ones later. But personally, I just thought it was a waste of time, and since you have to do all of them anyways, why not just do it all in order, right? And then when you actually read the passage, they wanted you to just read the first and last paragraph and then read the topic sentence of each paragraph. But that just never worked for me, because then when you go and answering the questions, obviously the questions are going to ask you about the details of the passage, but you wouldn't know how to answer that because you didn't read any of the details. And then another ordering thing was that they said that you should go through every single question in that passage and then you should write easy, medium, or difficult on it. But that doesn't make sense because, again, you're taking up more time. So we took the post-test after the class was over and got a 1260. Which was 50 points less than what I had originally scored, which shows that I didn't make progress at all, and I actually did worse. So yeah, I do not recommend that reading method, but if it works for you, then like it works for you. But for me, it was a waste of $600. Love that. I've also done private one-on-one tutoring at the center for SAT, and they actually helped me a lot. I feel like that's when I really like grinded out my SAT, because they would leave me with homework, so I had to finish these certain sections by the next week when I got there. I would do 2 one-hour sessions a week. There was one hour for math, 1 hour for reading, writing, and you would go through all the problems that you did at home by yourself, and then your tutor would like help you and figure out what's wrong, because a lot of times in reading and writing you see the correct answer, but you just don't really understand why that's the correct answer still, because in your head you still think that what you picked obviously was the correct answer. So my person just helped me to like understand why this was the correct answer, and so that if I ever saw anything similar to that, I wouldn't like mess up again. For math, we just went over like how to do things like the quickest and more efficient way. So I feel like one of the big things on the SAT is timing. A lot of people struggle with this, and I personally would struggle a lot with this, especially in reading or math. And what I found to be really helpful is just practice. And try to practice with the timer, because I used to practice without a timer and I'd find myself going way over even though I was doing fairly well on the test. One big thing that I think helps me a lot on the SAT is to cross out answers you know are wrong. Like when you're picking the letter, like if you know that this one's just totally wrong, just cross it out. But try not to spend too much time on a question, and if you can feel yourself just being really stuck, then just circle it and you can go back to it later, but for the time being you should just pick an answer just in case you don't have time to go back to it. But at least you can try to narrow it down to like 2 answers, so you have a 50-50 chance. For taking the math SAT, I would say that you definitely need algebra, trig, and geom. So if you think you're just failing the math section, don't worry, it's probably because you haven't taken that class, so you don't really know how to do them. And what you need to do is like really self-study and figure out how to do those topics. Or if you have time, then just take those classes in school. So I've seen some comments on my reaction video about people that have a 4.0 GPA but their SAT score is really low, or what they consider really low. I'm going to insert this chart right here, which is a GPA to SAT score correlation. It's basically what the colleges want to see you have. At school, we have a required college guide class, so my college counselor, who also happens to be my dean, showed us this. And you want to have this type of correlation. So if you get like a 1500 and your GPA is like a 2.5, the colleges will see that it doesn't match up, and most likely you're probably slacking in school even though you're a lot smarter than that. And then likewise, if you have a 4.0 GPA but you're only getting like a 1200, the colleges will think that you might be taking really easy classes just to have a good GPA and you're not challenging yourself enough. So that's just something to think about, but it's definitely not a concrete measurement of like how you're doing and your work ethic. So now let's move on to books. I think I threw away some of them already, so I don't have all of them pictured, but I will have everything linked in description box and you can buy them on Amazon. This one is the original. I have 2 of them because I got one from the SAT class I took, and then my mom also bought one because she didn't know I had it, I guess. And it's good for extra practice. This one, the official SAT study guide, made by a college board, and they're the people that make the tests and take our money and are big factors into how we get into college, because standardized testing is still a thing here in 2019. So it comes with 8 real SATs. So these are tests that were actually administered in prior years, so you're getting like the real stuff. So you want to make sure that you know everything in this book. You're going to expect to see math questions that are exactly like this with different numbers. When you're taking practice tests, you want to make sure that you always correct them. I have a bad habit of finishing it and then I don't want to correct it or figure out why I got the stuff wrong because I'm just so tired and my head hurts after spending like 4 hours taking it. But maybe you can do it the day after when you have a clearer head. But it's just really important to make sure you correct. Otherwise, you're taking the tests and it's just for nothing because you're not actually figuring out how to improve from there. Also, I apologize for my lighting always changing from like cool tone to warm tone. It's because the sun keeps hiding behind the cloud and then reappearing again. I didn't really read the stuff in the front of the book a lot because they're mostly of like strategies and practice drills. I think the practice drills are probably important. If you're like new to SAT, then you should definitely read the front of the book. But I just started studying really early and I kind of just developed my own strategies throughout the years, and I just haven't had the effort to actually go through and read everything, but I definitely think it would probably help or they just wouldn't write it, obviously, so you should go and do that. College Board actually has an app. I'll put it in the description box so you can download it, but you can just print out the bubble sheet like this, and then you can just scan it with your phone and then it will grade everything for you. It saves you a lot of time. There will also be a Reddit link of other official SATs that were actually administered before, but people that ordered the question and answer service got the PDF of them. So they're just extra practice tests that you can take that are official. I also have a bunch of books that I got from other companies. I have Kaplan and Princeton. So I really liked these because they just have a lot of practice tests in it. This one has 8 and this one has 10. And I feel like the only book that you really need to read is the College Board one, and then the rest you can just do the practice tests because I don't think that you can learn that much strategy. You just have to do it and then figure out what you need work on, and you just kind of develop them as you go. I didn't score as well on the practice tests of these books because I feel like their questions are a little bit more challenging, but it's not exactly a bad thing because then you're just going to be more ready for when you actually take the SAT and you'll think everything's easy, hopefully. And then I also found that I do a lot better on the actual SAT. I just feel like I don't focus quite as well when I'm taking it at home and stuff. But I feel like on the actual SAT, I do like 100 points better than what I usually get when I'm practicing. So don't be discouraged if you aren't doing that well on your practice tests. And I feel like that's it for now. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this video. If it helped you, don't forget to give it a like. And comment down below any questions that you guys have because I feel like I didn't cover everything. And I can definitely make more of this series because it's like my mom's dream come true that I'm doing SAT videos because she loves the SAT. I don't know what she's gonna do when I'm done with the SAT. Probably focus on college stuff. I can talk more in depth about like my exact reading and writing strategies and my math strategies. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you guys know when I post more videos. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!